they took the money that Cheney gave them, $2.2 billion, and they funneled it through NIH. And it all went through Anthony Fauci. That's when they started doing all this gain of function.
Tulsi Gabbard saying that she is going to begin a thorough investigation of Dr. Fauci. Now, Dr. Fauci is pardoned. But what does that mean exactly? Nothing. Dr. Fauci hasn't been charged with a crime. So it'd be really good to charge Dr. Fauci with a crime and then to see if those pardons actually stand up. Can you pardon somebody who hasn't been charged with a crime? Well, according to many legal scholars who have been on this program, you can't. That's not how pardons work. You can't. If that was how pardons work, then a president could just blanket pardon, let's just say, all of his supporters forever. So Donald Trump just leaves office and says, wouldn't that be just the greatest goodie? Every person who can prove they voted for Trump, so 77 million Americans, probably more like 100 million Americans. Anybody who, what's the logical conclusion here? Everybody who can prove that they voted for Trump in 2022, 2024, and 2020, and 2016. So it's hundreds of millions of Americans. All of you get pardons. What's the limiting factor here? Why wouldn't presidents just then pardon every single supporter of his from here until kingdom come as like a benefit for supporting them? Why not just run on that? That you'll just be, if you can just do this for Fauci and your kids and like members of the J6 committee, why not just do it? Why not make this like a handout, like a welfare? Like we're spiraling towards idiocracy here. It's so stupid. It hurts the brain. But here we go. Dr. Fauci wasn't charged with a crime yet. Dr. Fauci's pardon is void because Joe Biden probably didn't sign it. And also because, well, you can't pardon people just from here until kingdom come who haven't been charged with a crime. It's not how pardon system works. Crime, charging, prosecution, then pardon. That's how pardons have always worked. And so this would be really great to test it. It looks like the administration is finding out how to test it. Here we go. Huge. Tulsi Gabbard investigating Dr. Fauci potentially for perjuring himself. Hearings with Rand Paul. Now, I want to give you a little bit of just a little bit of an insight into what the perjury kind of looked like here, right? So let's begin. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Little thermodynamics here this morning. So the action, Dr. Fauci promises that there will be a special surprise outbreak of a virus in Trump term 1. In the first day of President Trump's term, starting in January of 2017, Dr. Fauci gives a speech and he says, get ready, there's going to be a surprise virus outbreak. Here we go.
Is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And
okay, so that's a little strange. Like, why would somebody say that? That's an odd thing for someone to say. What a strange thing to say. Then the reaction to this is Dr. Fauci, before Congress, having to answer for these the certitude of this statement with Rand Paul. Here we go.
I want to understand that if you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible to result in SARS-CoV-2.
Viruses caused the pandemic. We're saying they are gain-of-function viruses because they were animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And you
admit the truth.
And you implying...
Senator Paul, your time has expired, and I will allow witnesses who come...
You ever seen his handshake? We talk about this a lot. You ever seen his handshake? Steve Witkoff, by the way, under consideration to replace Mike Waltz. I vote for, I like Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff's cool dude. I vote for General Flynn just because I want the most entertaining outcome, but I'm perfectly fine with Steve Witkoff. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is now the response to that. So action, reaction, action to the reaction is Tulsi Gabbard saying, well, he's perjuring himself because Fauci knew damn well that this was a gain-of-function virus and that he created it and that he paid for it. And he paid for it with CIA dollars. And I'm in charge of the CIA, says Tulsi Gabbard. So, you effed around. And now you're going to get a big, steaming, hot ladle of find out. Here we go.
But the thing that we are working with Jay Bhattacharya, the new NIH director, on with, as well as Secretary Kennedy, is looking at the gain of function research that, in the case of the Wuhan lab, as well as many of these other biolabs around the world, was actually U.S. funded and leads to this dangerous kind of research that, in many examples, has resulted in either a pandemic or some other major health crisis.
Well, let me ask you specifically, because we already know that EcoHealth Alliance was partnering with this Wuhan lab to do gain of function research.
That's right.
We just have never been able to have somebody say, it was that exact experiment that led to this COVID bug. But have we gotten there? What's the new thing that you're digging in on?
We are working on that with Jay Bhattacharya and look forward to being able to share that, hopefully very soon.
Okay.
That specific
link.
Correct, between the gain of function research and what we saw with COVID-19.
I mean, that would be extraordinary, because just so the audience knows, if that's true, if it was Peter Daszak's research with the Wuhan so-called bat lady that caused this pandemic, then we did fund it. Then Anthony Fauci helped fund the pandemic.
The thing that he denied over and over and over to Senator Rand Paul's questioning.
That's right, under oath.
Under oath, exactly. So is it any wonder that he sought a preemptive pardon for anything during a certain period of time by President Biden before he left office?
And then strong-armed and smeared people like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, anybody who came out and said, I don't know if that's natural. This actually smacks of lab.
And the reason why this is so important is not just what happened in the past, it's because this gain of function research is happening in biolabs around the world. I got attacked, and I think you saw this, we've probably talked about it on your show before, when I warned against US-funded biolabs in Ukraine when the Russia-Ukraine war kicked off, for this very reason. Who knows what kinds of pathogens are in these labs, and if released, could create another COVID-like pandemic. And for that, I was called a Russian asset. You're, trumpeting Putin's talking points, all of this nonsense, simply for speaking the truth and stating facts that, by the way, are still on U.S. Embassy Ukraine's website today about how the U.S. has funded these biolabs in Ukraine. But my point is, in order to prevent another COVID-like pandemic or another major health incident that could affect us in the world, we have to end this gain of function research and provide the evidence that shows exactly why and how it's in our best interest, the American people's best interest, to bring about an end to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I voted for. I can't believe that after years of railing about this, that we're finally getting it. We're finally going to get a true investigation into Dr. Fauci, and that she knows who's looking into it, Jay Bhattacharya. Now, this is the greatest revenge, because it's Jay Bhattacharya, who had all of his credentials questioned by Dr. Fauci, who was stripped of his merit and a lifetime of work at Stanford, who is one of those virologists who actually stood up to the regime here, and who has now a very high position, much higher position than Dr. Fauci in the federal government. Dr. Fauci's been fired, effectively, resigned in disgrace. And so this is going to be amazing to see how this shakes out. And these are the kind of questions that, I'm so happy that people are finally asking these questions. I mean, these are the kind of questions that need to be asked. This is what people, it's what people need. It's what people demand.